Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia lost can be found. For today's video, I'm going to show off my raid clears of Omega Nyx and Omega Chronos. We're going to start off with Nyx this time since I think that was a more interesting fight and the run actually went a lot more smoothly compared to Chronos himself. So for this battle, we do have a fairly powerful set of teams here, and it's kind of like a two-factor authentication in a way, the fact that you have to clear this in solo, since I really do think that you could get carried in this raid just based on the power of your teammates, if not for the fact that you do have to clear the solo to unlock the raid version. So hopefully some of you have had success with the solo at this point. To be fair, it is really tough. You do need a very powerful team, and you kind of can smooth over the weak points of your team with powerful characters. So if you don't have Gala Cleo, you probably have to up your investment in other areas. If you do have her, you can probably afford to run weaker dragons like Juggernaut, for instance. So I think that it tests you across a variety of dimensions. Like your preparedness can be, hey, I happen to get 4 rare raid boosts. It could also be, I happen to have Gala Cleo and Ieyasu. Or maybe it's, I have really good dragons like 2 Shinobi or a Shinobi and a Marishi 10. So there are a variety of ways to come at this, but just look at the amount of Gala Cleo buff zones here. It's honestly pretty disgusting. So that's one of the things that makes the raid substantially easier, in my opinion, than the solo fights, is there are mechanics that just play really well in the raid environment compared to solo. So being able to have 4 Gala Cleos throwing out buff zones. Buff zones are one example of something that is very effective in a raid, just like debuffs are. So if you happen to get Delphi, he is a really powerful adventurer. You really want a strength dragon on him and not a Shinobi, which I think they implemented in a very wise way, since right now it was kind of getting to a point where Shinobi was becoming kind of meta and the superior dragon for so many adventurers. So I now realize why they put that poison on his 4th strike, and it's to sort of diversify the options that you can use. So he's a really good pickup if you happen to get him from the Summon Showcase. Cassandra is also fairly good, but Delphi is a big standout, and debuffs, just like buff zones, are so effective in raids since they help benefit all of the teams, not just your own. So that's actually one of the reasons why for this clear I switched to Valentine's Azalith from my Sanoa. Was Sanoa only buffs your own team in a raid context, but Valentine's Azalith has a debuff that benefits everybody, and also the fact that she can burn Omega Nyx here, that benefits everybody since my other players, or the other players in this raid, can run Elegant Escort, the Burning Punisher Wormprint, to deal increased damage. So we only have 1 death at this point, and otherwise we are pretty much deathless here. I'm basically doing the healer job of spamming Phoenix, and I think that everybody else is probably bringing better DPS than I am, since even after my clear video of solo, I only got 1 extra raid boost, so now I have 2. I have critical rate and critical damage, which granted they are 2 that synergize pretty well, but critical damage isn't one of the better raid boosts. But things do get a little dicey here at the end since we take this long to clear. The combination of those tornadoes with the flaming lightning, for lack of the actual names of those, is pretty punishing and pretty hard to deal with without a regen healing effect like on Summer Verica or Freya or Phoenix. And there I barely switched to Gala Cleo, and luckily we were able to get the clear. I was planning on fleeing with her and controlling her to try protect her to make sure this ended up being a Deathless, but it was a Deathless for me. And one of the nice things about raids is it only considers your own team. Obviously I missed out on some player EXP there by not running Yuden, which I jokingly refer to a lot, but I do believe in it. But yeah, that's a sign that this was a really hard fight for me. I don't drop Yuden from my team unless it is, and I had to bring out my best adventurers in order to clear it. I haven't invested in some weaker characters who might have been able to do this otherwise, but I have seen some clears on Reddit and the Discord that give me inspiration of what might be able to work. I just don't necessarily have all of the Eldwater to invest in that and test it out and show it off myself, but some of the things I have seen working for people that are a little bit lower budget. One of them is definitely Botan. She is a welfare unit. She has the HP co-ability. You'll probably want to patch up her paralysis res unless you're sure that you can dodge all of the lightning in Chronos Nyx, but she is very good. Patia is also very good from the new banner just because she can spam defensive buffs, and that's really strong. That's really effective when you need to survive. Her damage output isn't going to be as high as Botan's, but if she's there mainly to enable the survival of your stronger AI units, that can work out fairly well, so she can work for this. Alex, who's another welfare unit that everybody should have access to, can be used to clear. Now I'm going to switch over to the Omega Chronos fight itself, but besides Alex, some of the other units I've seen that are effective are Melody. So Melody gives you the Blade co-ability at a low rarity without being really low in terms of DPS since she's a buff bot, and she can carry Freya. So similar to how I use Sonoa, you could use Melody with Freya. And of course, you can use Sonoa just like I did. I also think you can use Silas for the HP co-ability. Since Silas can carry Freya, he can also buff max HP on his second skill. But you'll really want to cast that second skill as often as you can, since it is very slow to charge. But those are just some of the options that can work. And ironically, for the harder difficulty, or the raid difficulty, I guess, co-op, I don't know if I would say harder, we had more trouble with Chronos, this is the same set of people, than we did with Chronos Nyx. So I actually played this in reverse order. This is the first one we took on since we thought it would be easier, and we had a very aggressive plan here. We were going to try demolish the right hand and then just go to the body because we thought, this shouldn't be too bad, there's 4 of us now. We can probably take a more aggressive line and it'll be fine. But actually, that ended up hurting us quite a bit. So there's a couple strategies that I would recommend for this. One of them is indeed to just demolish one of the hands. You probably want to start with the right hand, which is on your left as a player, so the one we just demolished there, and then switch over to the other hand, because the first fist slam that Chronos does is always with his right hand on your left. So if you're there, you can iframe successfully from that fist slam since you'll be in the red part of the attack. But we're going body here, and we really probably want to be targeting the left hand on the right side of the screen because that is going to pose a pretty big threat to us later on. So I say that mainly because of the Channel Valfair move, somewhat because of these fist slams, but that Channel Valfair move, the crisscrosses are increased for every hand remaining. So that can tend to wipe out AI pretty quickly, and you'll see that some of the teammates have now lost several members of their party. So we're just kind of scattered all over the map here, and that's kind of the worst case to be in. I would say that you really just want to have a plan with the people you're working with. Either start at the right hand and go to the left, or the other thing I've heard work for people is if you really want to take a conservative line, you can start on the right hand, not even demolish it, but basically after the fist slam occurs with that, start to move your party over to the other hand since the fist slams tend to alternate up to a certain point in the match. And basically you can go back and forth between the hands and try to slowly take them out. My team is now looking like they're in trouble, and this Channel Valfair just took out Ieyasu, so we're all kind of on our last legs here, and it's looking pretty sloppy at this point, but this was my first clear, so I wanted to go ahead and share it anyway. This is kind of an example of what not to do, I guess. And there, I let my team take that hit because I wasn't able to charge my first skill in time. So all around, a little bit, a little bit sloppy, a little bit reckless play, definitely underestimating how quickly we could take out this boss. But we are able to get the clear here. It's very, very precarious. and surprisingly, even though you think there's over a minute and 40 seconds left, this should be easy, it ended up not being that easy to diminish that last chunk of HP with all of the time remaining. So I'll let you watch how it plays out. But for this particular fight, I do think it's a little better to just bring a Shadow DPS team. If you really want to, you can throw Phoenix on a Dragon, but I don't know that that's super necessary for this one. I think it's better to have a Shadow DPS team, maybe throw a healer in if you have Heinwald, and try to demolish those arms, because once those are demolished, you should be a lot safer. So I did try running this with some underspec or a little bit weaker teams, just so I could get a sense for what people were going through. And I will admit, you know, the weaker your team is, like if you are lacking Galacleo and Ieyasu, it does feel a lot harder, because breaking those arms in time just makes the fight so much safer. So that was something I really glossed over in my clear of the solo, was how much harder it becomes with a weaker, lower DPS team. It's not just a matter of running out of time, but really, it's a matter of putting pressure on the boss to avoid some of the more difficult segments of the fight. So I do say that, you know, if you're struggling with this, try to get some of those rare raid boosts. At a certain point, you know, you may not be able to clear this, so I would not stress out. It is a one and done type thing, but you have to clear the solo to even take on the raid, so there's a pretty big threshold to do that, and I'm somebody who's cleared all the Mercurial Gauntlets through level 50. If you're at that level, regardless of who you have, I think you can probably do the solo. I think you can probably do the solo if you can clear through level 41 of the Gauntlets with your solo teams. But I think if you're not there, you know, don't frustrate yourself and just kill yourself trying to get this clear. The rewards are good, but it's not worth the stress at some point, and you can continue to try power up your team and maybe get something good on the showcase. There's going to be another Omega Raid period happening later in the event, so one of them is this weekend and then one is toward the end of the event. Those are the only times the Omega Raids are open, so there's still time, but don't stress too much. At the end of the day, it's just a game, and as I've recently found, you know, the gacha giveth and the gacha taketh away. So I have Galacleo, but I could resonate with people who don't have a particular Gala unit very much. So I hope this video was helpful to you. This is what worked and what I found effective, what I was able to use to clear. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you next time.